It's a real pleasure to be able to be here and to talk to you about my favorite topic, which is garbage. I think one of the really beautiful things about waste, which is sometimes challenging in other sustainability questions, is it's so simple, it's so black and white, there's no waste deniers like there's climate change deniers. And in doing this work for now 20 years all over the world, I've always seen that people think waste is a problem. But what's really changed in the past really 2 years is it's moved from being a problem to a crisis. And in fact, France is one of the epicenters of leading this whole mentality. So a few years ago, I would have had to explain this image to you, and today I don't have to. And that's a wonderful thing if we're thinking about how to solve the issues that everyone agrees. Now, one of the interesting things in this whole place, the top chart you see there is the amount of searches people have been doing on Google around single-use plastic. So you could see, even articulated in search results, how this crisis is emerging. But just as waste is becoming a big focus for people, the recycling industry, the companies that have to be focused on solving it, are struggling. And the bottom graph shows you the value of recyclables in an average US city like Philadelphia just crashing down. They used to be paid for recycling, now they have to pay to have recycling occur. And the reason recycling is challenged is because oil prices are low, and markets have stopped importing material, and the quality of our waste has gone down from the eyes of a recycler. So the first question we really need to understand is what makes something recyclable, like an aluminum can, and what makes something not recyclable, like a cigarette butt. And many times we focus on the technical ability to recycle something, but really it's entirely about, can a garbage company make money? If the cost of collecting waste and processing it is less than the recovered value, it will be recycled. And if it's more than the recovered value, it won't be recycled. So when we think about linear economy, it's all about extracting, producing, and then wasting a product, the take, make, waste approach. And the first thing TerraCycle tries to do is how do we start bending this into a circular economy, not quite a perfect circle, but bending things so that things that were otherwise not recycled can be recycled or go into a circular approach. And what I can tell you after doing this with hundreds and hundreds of waste streams all over the world is almost everything can go in a circular system. Things can be reused. Here's how 35 million plants were packaged recently, sold in this example at Walmart, just in used margarine containers. This may not drive a lot of volume reuse, but it really brings a lot of visibility. We happen to be the world's biggest upcycler, doing things like this, which create a lot of excitement, and people tune in and start getting excited about recycling. But in something like chip bags, the major solution will be the science of waste. How do you deconstruct it and make it into something like here, shipping trucks? Everything can go around, whether it's cigarette recycling, where you separate the ash tobacco paper and compost it and take the filter and make it into plastic products like this. And this is now up and running in 400 major cities around the world, from here in Paris to Tokyo, New Zealand, and so on. Everything can go around. So the question then is, what are the business models that enable this? Because everything I'm showing you, like diaper recycling, on the surface does not make economic sense. In fact, through a great partnership with Pampers, diaper recycling is now live in Amsterdam. This is a live photo there, and it's going to be expanding all over. And what's really important to think about, if the value of the material recovered is not enough to fund all the operations, how do you think about creating other types of value? So a stakeholder like Pampers is not just funding it because of solving a risk, but funding it because it's going to drive major value for them. So here, for example, Pampers proudly recycles any brand of diaper. And what they hope is that then consumers will love their brand more and switch over to their brand, benefiting them economically. Whether it's today 100,000 retailers around the world running in-store recycling programs, like this is DM with Unilever in Germany, collecting and recycling aerosol containers into bicycles, again, driving brand preference. Here's a really exciting project. I was just in Japan last week, and with leadership from Aeon and P&G, we are now collecting in 2,000 stores in Japan hard-to-recycle waste that was otherwise not recycled in Japan, and the waste is then being turned into the Olympic podiums for the Tokyo Olympics. And if you know about the medals in the Olympics are made from cell phone waste. So the joke is, you win the Olympic medal for your country, and you get a piece of garbage while you're standing on garbage. In all these cases, what's really important, if you're a social entrepreneur trying to embed purpose into an organization, or whether you're an organization trying to really be more purposeful in what you do, it's how do you focus to make it big immediately on what is the value that can come out beyond sustainability. For example, with a major retailer, Target and Walmart in the US, we ran car seat recycling. In 2 days, collected 10% of all the car seats in the country, a phenomenally large system. But what really drove a lot of value is 50% of the people returning these objects were not consumers of those stores. And it's so important to drive this out, because if we just focus on the benefit of, in this example, recycling car seats, it's not going to be enough to really scale and make massive investment that is required to fund these systems. Now, when we cannot make it work from a for-profit context, we use the TerraCycle Foundation. So you heard from Boyan earlier about the amazing work of the Interceptor cleaning up rivers. We now are deploying little versions of those to clean up the canals in countries like here in Thailand before the waste ends up in a river, and of course before it ends up in the ocean. So that gives you the first bend, the recycling bend. But the next question is, to start reducing the need for new materials, how do you start helping companies make their products out of waste? And this echoes the amazing work of the Ellen MacArthur Foundation in working with organizations and companies to have them commit to using major amounts of recycled content and to make their products and packages recyclable by 2025. Now, one of the things we try to think about is, how do we create supply chains where they otherwise would not make economic sense? So you saw me with this photo, and you heard from Boyan earlier on the idea of ocean and river plastic. Now, this material is much more expensive to collect and process than normal recyclables from the city would be. And the quality of the plastic that results from these collections is lower than what it would be if you just take a soda bottle that you collect here in Paris. So how does this get to become real? This became the world's first shampoo bottle, made 25% from ocean plastic. This was launched at the World Economic Forum in 2017. And since then, it's now live in 20 countries and expanded to many other products. And the important lesson here isn't just, isn't it nice that Procter & Gamble in this example can use ocean plastic? The more interesting question is, what is the business model? Because this is much more expensive to do and lower quality material, where they had to change the color of this product for the first time in its history. And what we find is today, people in this mode of waste as a crisis are looking for purpose in products. And what P&G really realized here was, instead of spending money on marketing and creating awareness that way, the money could be put into something really purposeful, like the premium cost of collecting and recycling plastic from our rivers, beaches, oceans, and lakes. And people will still love the product more, reducing the need of the marketing investment. And then once one major company does it, others follow. This is Unilever now doing ocean plastic with us in this example in high-end cosmetics. And I'm actually really happy that just a month or two ago, it even came to Japan through dish soap, collected from the oceans and beaches of Japan. That gets us then to a recycling circular economy, where we collect and recycle things and we're able to use waste to make products. But the question then becomes, is this the answer to garbage? And we think, and I say this as a recycling company, that recycling is not the answer to the idea of waste. Instead, it's an answer to the symptom of waste. So then we have to think about going one step further, and how do we solve waste at the root cause? And the idea there is, how do we shrink the circle into a tighter circle and move from a recycling circle into a reuse circle, where we can eliminate the need of having to have waste management on every single product. That manifested 1 year ago in the launch of Loop, back at the World Economic Forum. And what was very exciting for us about this press conference it wasn't just the great leadership and having CEOs from P&G and PepsiCo and so on stage, but also being joined by the global head of Greenpeace, together bringing out a global circular solution that would allow brands and retailers to participate easily in the idea of reuse. Now, to think about the academics behind this, we have to understand where waste came from. Garbage was invented really 70 years ago in the 1950s. And so we have to ask ourselves, what was life like before? And before the 1950s, most products were durable, reusable. Not just milk, but our perfume, our motor oil. We fixed our shoes, we mended our clothes. We never bought things in a disposable mentality. And in those economic models, the manufacturers viewed their packaging as an asset. They were financially motivated to make the package last a long time, which is why you can still find these today in antique markets. Then in the 1950s, the idea of disposability was invented. And this is a positive photo from 1950. It looks sort of crazy today, but this was a photo promoting the benefits of disposability. Now, why are the people authentically smiling? Is because disposability brought about unparalleled convenience and affordability. And it changed our lives for the better. But a very strange thing happened. The packaging moved from being the property of the manufacturer in the end to property of the consumer. But do we really want to own a coffee cup when there's no coffee in it? Do we want to own a chip bag when there's no chips in it? Do we want to own a tube of hand cream when there's no hand cream left in it? And when it becomes our property, it becomes a cost to the manufacturer. And the goal of any cost is to reduce costs. And as we reduce the cost of packaging, it becomes less recyclable. Because what recyclers are, as you saw that earlier equation, are mining our garbage for value. And as you move from an aluminum can to a PET bottle to a carton to a pouch, recycling goes down almost 50% at every step of the way, because companies like Suez and Veolia then can't make as much money on recycling those objects. So the question for us, only 3 years ago was this idea even thought about, was how do we solve the unintended consequences of disposability, which is the garbage crisis and lower quality of our products, while maintaining the virtues of affordability and convenience? Because the biggest lesson we learned in this idea of sustainability is people care now. Garbage, these problems are a crisis, but we're still not willing to sacrifice to bring about a better world. We would choose it if it was the same quality, same price, same everything as the conventional idea, but we're not willing yet to sacrifice. And the solution to this was actually a really simple idea, one that was around in the past, of shifting ownership of the product back to the manufacturer, so that as a consumer, we don't own the packaging, we simply borrow it. And that brings out the concept of durable design. By making the package an asset of the manufacturer, the investment into that package can greatly increase. And that allows packaging not just to be durable, made from high quality materials like here, stainless steel, but it also allows for new features and benefits that were otherwise not possible. So what Loop first started to do, first partner became Procter & Gamble, and then Pepsi, Unilever, Nestle, and Mars all became the founding group of consumer product companies. Today there are over 100 major conglomerates and about 200 startups that are designing products into the Loop ecosystem, is to start working with brands to create options of their current products in reusable packaging forms. Whether it's the #1 laundry detergent in the world now in reusable stainless steel, whether it's one of your favorite ice cream brands, in this case also in reusable stainless steel packaging, whether it's surface wipes, all the way to dish soap, we see the materials shifting from a lot of flexible plastics to metals like stainless steel and aluminum, glass, and then engineered plastics, plastics like this that are intended to go around at least 10 times and ideally even more. Whether it's companies like Coca-Cola bringing back the iconic original bottle type and making it available where it wasn't available before. And in fact, according to our friends at Coca-Cola, Coca-Cola tastes best in glass. So even the quality of the product can improve. Whether it's using reusables in areas like mouthwash here with glass that was never possible or never done before, all the way to thinking about the value of design. This is Unilever with hand soap, and an interesting learning here was that 40% of consumers in Western markets pour their hand soap into a different container at home for a more beautiful dispenser. Well, why not give it to them like that to begin with? Whether it's startups like wonderful companies like Brahm or Les Petits Bidons, which are great French startups that are entering into reusable packaging, taking existing packaging forms, or even retailers like Carrefour, who became the first global retailer to embrace Loop, looking at the products on their shelf that, without design changes, can enter into a reuse economy. We found that while consumers like sustainability, they love design. And so this is what, for example, the first shampoo and conditioner in Loop looks like, but P&G's already shown us what it likely may look like in the future. Just as reusable, but really pushing the concept of what you can do with durable design. Whether it's luxury skincare with Unilever, again, what is shipping today, but what it will potentially look like in about a year from now. Even in Japan, we just recently launched Loop. It's one of the largest Japanese food companies looking at coffee all the way to spices. So how does this work? Today, we are working with major retailers, 10 of them. Carrefour became the first, where Loop is available through an online system. And this allows us to test and learn from people how they look at a reuse economy and what they are really seeking before we scale up. In these models, you can go to Carrefour's website, for example. It will direct you to the Loop store. And you can buy your durable products. We ship them out to you in a durable shipping container and pick those up from you later for cleaning. So you don't have to sort, you don't have to store them, and you don't have to clean the packaging. What we learned in this process is that people are very excited about the opportunity that reuse brings from a design point of view. They like not having to clean and fill packaging themselves. But they also told us that they want the products to be as affordable as possible, to have the widest range of assortment possible, and to make the operational function as simple as absolutely possible. Through all those learnings with these important retailers, we now can show you what the next phase of Loop will be. This will come to France in the middle of this year, and all over the world, in Canada, the US, Germany, UK, Japan, and Australia, later this year and early next. Which is where retailers will start embedding the Loop ecosystem into their physical stores. So instead of having a small assortment, you'll be able to go to your local Carrefour, buy all the favorite products that you have from leading French brands, startups, and global brands in now reusable, durable packaging forms, pay about the same amount for the content, pay a deposit for the package, and then when you're done with it, no sorting, no cleaning, you throw it into a bin, except now it's a reuse bin. And when that bin is full, you take the bag and drop it off at a drop point at any participating retailer. It doesn't matter if you even purchase the product there or not. Because what reuse needs is a system like recycling where you can buy a product anywhere and return it anywhere. People still today, the good news is people care about the environment more than ever. The topic is something top of mind for everyone, from our children, to older people, everywhere in the world. But when we are making purchasing decisions, we still prioritize convenience, affordability, and performance as the top 3 things we care about, and none of those things are sustainability driven. And so to succeed today, to bring about a circular economy, and to make it as tight as possible, we need to play into those desires and meet people where they are and give them systems that allow them to have a disposable experience, but act as reusable as possible behind the scenes. And hopefully that gives you a little taste of how we're trying to solve the idea of waste. Thank you.